And good afternoon, morning, or evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to another exciting episode of Let's Coach. You know, when a relationship ends and your partner or spouse cheated on you, should you go back to them? That's what we're going to be talking about today on Let's Coach with Carolyn. And I'm your host, Carolyn Owens. Let's Coach is a show that brings the best from the coaching world with tips and strategies for you to use in your everyday life. We bring you great small business ideas and some good news stories and stories about people paying it forward in their everyday lives. And when I'm not hosting the show, I serve as the president of Infinity Coaching Incorporated, where we help you up-level your skills so you can up-level your income, your career, your life, your business. And I assist my clients with creating the life of their dreams. And we have a lot of fun in the process. But if you want to find out more about me, you can go to CarolynOwens360.com. And from there, you can connect onto all my social media platforms, my website. Everything you need to connect with me is right there on that one page. So check it out. That's CarolynOwens360.com. So on our last episode, we were talking with relationship coach Roman Mironov about starting over after ending a relationship. And so we had a caller who called in, and she was on the line, and her ex was also on the line. And I want to thank them both for calling in. I know it took a lot for him to get on that line. So, guys, if you're listening, thank you so much for calling in. And there were choices that were made in the relationship. They were planning to get married, and she cheated on him. And she told the truth about it. And she called in asking if that relationship could be salvaged. And we ran out of time during that discussion, and I just couldn't let it go like that. I wanted to, continue the conversation. I wanted to bring the conversation to our table, and that's our Women's Talk table. And joining us again for this episode is money coach Chella Diaz. Bring her on the line here. Hello, Chella. Welcome back.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here.
And when we do, this is the second time we've had a chance to do Women's Talk, where we, talk about key issues from our perspective as coaches and our own life experience. And, this was a topic that I couldn't let go of. I know you listen to the show. You're a regular guest and listener, so you've had a chance to hear what the caller was saying and, just the depth of the show and how we were talking about starting over after ending a relationship and how so many of the circumstances and what's involved, can kind of guide the direction it goes in. Now, I have to ask you, have you ever gone back to an ex after breaking up with them? Now, for any other reason, we're not talking about cheating yet, but just anything other than cheating. Have you gone back to an ex?
So we're warming up. I like it. No. I really, it's just, for me, I just didn't go, because if you got to the point where you were breaking up, then for me.
Did we lose you? Chella?
I'm here.
Oh.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. No, so the answer is no. I have not gone back to a relationship after we broke up.
Okay, so that probably answers the next question, that when we talk about cheating, have you ever gone back to someone who has cheated on you?
Okay. Well, I got it. That's a little bit different, though, right? Because,
Yes.
and this is a good point. So for me, I was in that situation. So this is coming from the heart. This is coming from experience. So when I found out that my former husband had cheated, I wanted to go to therapy. For me, the next step was, let's do some therapy. Let's find out why this happened, so that we can do something differently, right? So for me, it was important to find out. Let's find out, right? Let's see what went wrong. What was the thing? So I was ready and willing to go to the therapy and see and work it out. Absolutely, I was ready to do that.
So, but you were.
Go ahead.
So you were actually married to him. It was your husband.
I was married to him. Yes.
Do you think if you weren't married, it would have made a difference?
As far as the same situation, but we were not married, so we were just boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, it depends. I think to me it depends. If the same circumstances were the same and we had been together for 10 years, I still feel that I would want to work it out, to find out, because I believe, for me, it's like, okay, what went wrong and what can we do to correct it, right? It's, but for the time invested, and I would say for me, I had 2 kids. We had 2 kids. So I really wanted to work it out.
So did you want to work it out for you, or did you want to work it out for the kids? Because that's a difference.
Gosh darn it, that's a darn good question. So which is what I was going to say. If I didn't have kids, absolutely not. I would not have wanted to work it out.
I mean, because
I got to be honest. You know what I mean? Yeah. I got to be honest.
We'll stay in these relationships longer than we should, where the signs are there and we're not connecting, or let me say we're just connecting. There's not, and we talked about this, Roman talked about this yesterday, that there's a difference with you're just connecting with somebody. You're pretty much almost like you're just roommates, but there's not that passion. The love is not there. And you may have never had it in the first place, but you didn't see it. You make excuses for all those things that the person does that you don't like. And it's like, or you try to think that you can change that person, that, you can, make them a better person, or you can change the behaviors that you don't like. And it's not that the things that they're doing are bad. It's just not something that connects and aligns with who you are and what you value. But we stay anyway. We'll do that. And kids are one of the primary reasons that people will stay in bad relationships.
Yes. So, being totally honest, just looking back, if I didn't have kids, I don't think I would have worked it out. But she was a little bit older than me when we got together, and the first thing he said before we got married, he's like, this is who I am. I know that I'm not perfect. I know that I have faults. And if you're thinking that you're going to want to change me, it's not going to happen. So if you want to, you know what I mean? So we had that conversation up front. So I knew going in, there was no changing, right? It's about compromising and living and working things out as you are.
It's funny. It's ironic that I was talking to my neighbor this morning, and they just celebrated their 10th anniversary yesterday, and I love hearing 10 years, 20 years, how long couples stay together, and and he said it's not always easy, but you go through those times and challenges together, and that's what makes that marriage stronger. That's what makes you stick it out. It's not the people get into the stage of getting married or being in a relationship, and then when the fairy tale ends and you get to reality of what a relationship is really about, people walk away. But that fairy tale is not this You're not happy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you believe that, to me, it's impossible, because that's what our other emotions are for, to be angry, to feel sad, to walk through those. We have those, and we get to walk through them. But it's the same thing. Marriage is not this, any relationship is not the perfect bouquet of roses every day.
Right. It's about working, right? Like you said, it's about whatever those emotions. And also, I think, working it out. So, and I believe that with my kids, we did a great job because we allowed them that space. So if they had a bad day at school, or if they didn't win whatever game or whatever, and they needed time to process that, the alone time, we gave them that, right? It's about giving each other the space to go through the emotions, whatever they may be.
Yes, and that was one of the points we made to the couple yesterday, was he needed his time to heal. It had just been 4 months, and he was still, and he forgave her, but he could not see himself with her anymore. And he still had to go through the hurt. That was painful. You think you're going to marry this person and everything's kind of, it's good in his mind. And then you get this news, bam, your soon-to-be wife has cheated on you. So in your situation, were you able to make it work?
Well, I started with, I wanted to make it work. I wanted to go to therapy. I wanted to go to counseling, yes. Whatever we did, whatever it took. He was not willing to do that. He felt that, he's mature enough and he learned his lesson and that would not happen again. I got to tell you, not that therapy was going to be the magic pill in any way, shape, or form. That was just not good enough for me, right? We have to work it out. We have to at least talk about it. And he wasn't willing to talk about it. And so for me, I just could not see myself, because I began to resent him. And the fact that we could not even talk about it or get to the bottom of it, at that point in time in my life, getting to the bottom of it, having the complete puzzle was very important to me. So no, for me, it did not work out. And I think we both played a part in that, right? It was not, at that point in time, I felt that the trust was broken. You're not even willing to work at it, to repair it. I could not see myself staying in that relationship.
And you just made a key point. The trust was broken. And trust is earned. And when you break that, it is so hard to get it back. And I mean, from not just, say, cheating, but if your spouse is lying to you. I always say there's 3 things that destroy relationships. And this is intimate relationship, friends, work, everything. It is money, sex, and communication are the 3 things to me that can destroy a relationship. And when you violate that and you're not communicating about the important things, and the small things too, because what's small to one person can be big to the other. When you don't have that, and you being the person who was cheated on, you had things that you needed to walk through, but you needed the support from the other person to do it. And he wasn't giving that to you. And I think when the cheater, the person who does the cheating, if they commit and they want to stay and they're going to stick it out, they have to know that that person who's hurting is going to go through some things. They're going to wonder, are you going back to that person? Where are you? Why are you coming home at late again? And until everything can start settling again, that has to be kind of, you're going to be in that situation where they're going to want to ask questions, and they start comparing themselves to why that person. Why would you go be with them? And it's not about how you look, because some of the, top, most beautiful people in the world have been cheated on.
Yep, it's definitely not about looks, right? It's but also the interesting thing that you just said is that allowing each other that space, right?
Mhm.
Whether and when you don't have that, and he even said, "Listen, you will know where I am 24/7, and I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever you want, blah blah." But then it felt more like to me, like to be honest, like a prisoner, right? Like I was going
Mhm.
to watch and guard, and that's the part that I could not live with. That's the part where it's like, no, I cannot be watching. I mean, I'm glad that he offered that and he was willing to do that. But for me, it was like, no, I should not have to watch a person 24/7. That felt like a job to me.
And it
And that
wasn't
was
a
something
job
that,
you wanted.
yeah, it's exactly. It just felt, it felt like a job. That's not a relationship. That's a job. I felt like, I already have a full-time job and I am a mom. And I was like, that's not something for me that I was willing to go through, right? He did offer, you know what I mean? Like, you could put a phone tracer, you could do this, you could, yeah, It just, I don't think, for me, I was like, no, that felt like a job, right? So for me, it did not work out.
Yeah, and
But I do
I'm
know,
with you.
right? Go ahead. Yeah.
Mhm. I'm saying I'm with you. I don't want to be with somebody who I'd have to be worried. I don't ever check somebody's phone to go through it or something like that. I would never do that. I don't have time for it. I'm too old, and it's just not something I would want to do. If I got to be with somebody where you even feel like you got to check their phone. Now, I would put a tracker on for safety reasons only. It's too much happening out in this world. And I would like somebody to know if I'm going, driving around a place or being somewhere I've never known, I'm getting lost or something you don't know. Yeah, know where I am. I get that for safety reasons, but not that I'm going through your phone and checking everything. I don't have time for that. No, if I can't, that's being, like you said, that's lockdown. That's being a prisoner again. I said again, not like I ever been in prison, y'all. I want to make sure I got that right. No, I said again, no. But it would be like, I meant again, like what she was saying, kind of commenting on that.
It just restricts it, right? It just
Yes.
it feels like you're in a cage. Maybe prison is a cage. It just feels like you're in a cage.
I don't do well.
The freedom is being taken away.
But then, it's women talk, so let's do women here. So do you think it's different for a man than for a woman when you're talking about moving past something like this?
I gotta tell you, I think it depends on the person. For me, I don't think it's based on a male female, because I know women clients that they have been cheated on, and they were able to work it out.
Mhm.
They did the therapy and they did the thing, and they were able to work it out. And I applaud them. I said, that's great. And but again, it's about the person. I think men. I think for women, we tend to be a little bit more emotional. We tend to be, but we tend to take things a little bit more to heart. Not that men don't, but we're more on the open. We are able to. But I've known couples with both men and women where their spouse cheated on them, and they were able to make it. But so that's a really interesting, right? It's because I think it's it was just for them. It was a way for them to make it work.
So, and I've seen the same. Most of our listeners know I served in the military for 24 years, and you're with people who they were separated from their families. They were, on temporary assignments and different things. So a lot of stuff happened for different people. But I saw, when the spouse or somebody found out that the marriage made it, that they survived. but in terms of how a man reacts versus how a woman reacts, I think there's a double standard in that the woman is supposed to forgive the man, but the man is like it's like you touched a trophy that was locked in a cabinet that no other man should put his fingers on. That
Yep.
That's his prize. So it bruises a man's ego at first, especially if she got away with it for so long. It's like, how could she? How could you let another man touch what's mine? That goes through his head, and it's just something he looks at her with a certain sense of shame. And I think that's been, standard for years. I mean, always in existence, that a woman can forgive and move past easier than a man can. What do you think?
That's a good point. I totally agree with you with the double standards, right? I think it's for the man, it's not so much about the action she did it, but it's about how could she, right? It's that trophy. We go back to that trophy thing. That possession, almost like the possession, right? Like if we go back, your mind, how could you do that kind of a deal? It's very interesting, mentioned the double standards.
You mentioned, and it just kind of piggybacks off of that, you mentioned something about emotionally. So when you think about emotions, when people cheat, men are more likely to get caught than women because women hide it very well. But then women will have an emotional attachment of some sort to that individual they're cheating with. Or they'll just have what people call an emotional affair. Do you see that emotional affairs are the same thing as cheating?
I do. I do. Because for men, it's more of the physical, right? For them, it's that. Mm-hmm. But for women, we get emotionally attached. We are sharing something very deep within ourselves, and it's not even physical, right? But our emotions, because we are sharing of ourselves. We give the time and just the energy that goes into all of that. We're giving a piece of ourselves when we get emotionally attached.
So, do you think women and men can be friends, just friends, with no emotional or physical involvement in that sense of the intimate, sexual kind of way? Do you think that's possible?
Absolutely, and I'm proof. I am, and now I know I'm going to say this. So I am proof in many different ways. I am proof. One, I do have a lot of gay friends, so I know they don't count. But they can be a little bit harder to be friends with than your straight men for me. But I am very fortunate that I have a number of male friends. And I go back to one that, we've been friends for over 20 years. I do believe that we can do that. I mean, what we're able to share with them. I am still friends with the guy that I went to prom with. He's married and has 5 kids and all of that, right? But I do believe, for me, it is possible to be friends. It's just you do different things with those friends than when you do with, your 2 girlfriends or with your spouse.
And it's funny because I'm still friends with the guy that I went to my prom with. We were very, very good friends, and we talked not too long ago. But I think because I'm so hard to get in touch with, he might be mad at me right now. But that's okay. Shout out, hey Roger. But we're very good friends. And then I mean, you're talking in the military when you're often one of the few females there. You do have a lot of guys that they're your friends, they're your brothers, and they will look out for you. That's what we do in the military. And I have some that I've been friends for 30 years or so that we've been friends. And we are just friends. And people have asked me, how can you have been friends so long, because it's like they're like brothers, dude. So, and we've never thought about each other, seen each other. We get each other through hard times and stuff like that. That's what we're taught. That's how we're there. We're to support each other and to help each other, and it becomes true friendship. I think because so few people see what true friendship looks like, that the lines are easy to cross. You don't understand the boundaries and the different things that comes with that. Emotional affairs, you were saying that, yes, you see that as cheating. And it can be. People have so many different views on that. If it's pulling you away from that relationship, your marriage, and that emotional affair can become so much more, because you have an attachment that's harder to break. That's in your heart, it's in your mind, and it's really pulling at you. So that can be, in some ways, when you get those emotions involved, even harder than walking away from just a physical friends with benefits kind of thing.
Yep, absolutely. Because that's in, right? The emotional, it's a 24/7 kind of deal, right? Where the physical, it just happens, right? But the emotional,
all right, I'm going home now.
I mean, you're spending.
It's funny because we've coached a lot of different people where, I've worked with men and I've worked with women. And it's funny, you hear guys can say, if my wife were to cheat on me with another man, I'd be furious. But if it was just, if it was another woman, I wouldn't be so mad. Now, that sounds crazy, but does he see, like getting back to the trophy, he sees another man as a threat. He's destroying his household, his home.
Interesting.
His castle.
Right? It's just, right. Ooh, I like that. His castle and his trophy. Absolutely. But I also think it's interesting, and I think that I admire the couples that are able to make it work. Now, I didn't always. I did have some judgment around that, especially when you're in the pain and the hurts, you're still going through that. Because I found it difficult to believe that she would not know that he was cheating. Right?
Or vice
it was
versa.
Like, how could she not know?
But that's us looking on the outside.
Right.
I think when we're in that shoes, we don't often want to believe the signs could be there, but you don't want to believe it, little things that are, And looking back, you'll say, oh, yeah, I remember this, and that. When that happened, it was right there in front of me. But when you trust someone and you love someone, you don't get caught up in those little things and all the signs that are there. You trust them. And it gets me thinking is, where is the commitment? People, I think more so now, they get married or they're in this relationship and they're supposed to be committed, and they say, I do, or I'm in this, I'm all in. But they say it so lightly without understanding what it means to be all in, what it means to take that walk down the aisle, and that you're going to be committed, that you're going to be all in this relationship, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically all in.
Yeah. And I don't think that people realize what that is, right? Like we started with, at the beginning, and your neighbors have celebrated 10 years together. It's working through the difficult times, right? Because the fun times, when everything is going well, you just got that raise, you just got the commission or the bonus, and when everything is going well, right, there is not much to work out. It's when things get difficult, maybe the IRS audited you and now you're going to have to owe them, or you owe them. It's when you get those curveballs of either
Chella?
going to
We
bring
lost
you
you
together.
again. Could you repeat that? We had lost you
Oh
again.
my
Can
goodness.
you repeat that?
Okay. Yeah. I said that it's when we go through, when we get those curveballs. The IRS gets audited. You need a new refrigerator. You need new tires. Whatever the case may be, it's like when we work through those things, that's what's going to bring us closer, or is going to pull us apart. And I don't think couples look at it that way.
I just want to quickly say, if you're listening and, it's something you've been through and you've been able to stay together and move past it, give us a call. You can call in at 773-897-6124. And, why do you think people cheat in the first place?
I think that's a $100,000 question, Carolyn. Because I think it's very complicated. It's truly, truly complicated. I can say, for me and my own personal experience, he was depressed. He had just lost his mom. They were incredibly close. He felt numb, right? When you lose your parent and you're very close, you go through this numb. He went through depression for a while. He was able to work and do all of that, but he was depressed. And it was for him. It was just that new thing, right? Something sparked up something within him. Right. It lasted for about, the depression lasted a little bit over a year. And during that time when he wasn't 100% there, let's face it, I picked up the pieces, right? As far as the kids, I have taken care of the kids and doing all of that. So I took that, possibly, now looking back, I was too busy, taking over some of the responsibilities, and he just needed, I just need something, just something new, something different, something to, spark some life back into my life. And he did, and it worked, I guess, and, it was just rather interesting that for him, that's what it happened, But you often see people where, I also got to witness at office parties, right? People get into the alcohol and everything seems fun and happy, and then next thing you know, they end up going to the hotel thing, right? They started out as innocently as having an office party. I mean, how many times have we heard or have we seen, where you're at a happy event, happy celebration, and then the alcohol, for one that could really put away some alcohol, things just seem so easy. Like, let's just have some fun here, not realizing the consequences, right? Because when you're under the influence, you don't really realize the consequences of your actions. You don't really, in my opinion, you don't really fully pay attention to it until it's too late the next morning, after you have a hangover.
And it's funny because you made me think of a song. For those who are into like rap music and stuff, G-Eazy has a song called "Sober," which kind of, if you had not been doing all that drinking, would you be doing the things that you were doing? And alcohol, yes, it makes you lose some sense of judgment if you are drinking heavily and you are around, a person who you are tempted by, or they're tempted by you, and they always want it, so they'll take advantage of the situation. But I do want to, during this time, if you're listening to this show later, right now all across the globe we're experiencing COVID-19, the coronavirus, and it's causing people to stay in place, shelter in place, and be at home. But here's the thing. People are staying at home, but affairs are still taking place during this. Despite the virus, there are reports and studies being put out about it that people are still, in these situations. And I encourage you to check out an episode I did not even a week ago now. It's called Relationships Tested During a Time of Crisis. If you just look on it on one of the channels you can find us on, or just search the title, Relationship Tested During a Time of Crisis, I wrote an article on it as well as did a show about it, which kind of gives you some kind of strategies and things not to be the one ending up in that situation during this time. Because we got, you think about, like you were saying, he was going through depression. We got a lot of stress. You're talking about losing, things are breaking at home and people aren't employed. And, if you're arguing with your partner or your spouse, you want to go to that person who's not arguing with you. But you see, that's just a temporary grass is greener kind of thing, because if you end up with that person, eventually the fairy tale ends and you start arguing too. You look at the person that often it's the person that you thought you could never have. There's something different and intriguing about the person where they seemed untouchable and they want to be with you, or they're so different from your spouse. It's like an adventure, and we talk a lot about relationships on this show, and I encourage people to check out some of the episodes we've done, because this is why we talk about not letting that boredom set in. How do you keep that adventure in your own home? There was a joke that used to be told about, and it was a wife who said it. Instead of if her husband he did not need to go to a strip club or something, he could leave that money at home and give it to her and get a far better show. So her goal was to keep her marriage strong and happy, so he would want to come home. And I love that when you see the guy he's leaving work and he's like, I'm going home to my wife. I'm ready to get home. I've done my job for the day and I'm ready to get home. And vice versa. She could be the primary breadwinner and she's ready to go home to her husband. But they work at that and they create that. We live in such a fast-paced, career-focused, materialistic world that we lose sight of what we say is most important to us, and that's our relationship. And it's very easy to say that person cheated. It does not excuse the behavior, but what was going on that led them to it, that led them into the arms of somebody else, or let's just say the bed of somebody else or floor or wherever they were, It led them to somewhere else, But you can't.
Oh my God!
A lot of it starts
fabulous.
in the beginning. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's fabulous. I mean, I love that. I had no idea that actually people could. Right now, you just brought up such a great point, because people are under a great deal of stress, men and women. Mm-hmm. That they may want to go out of their relationship and forget marriage, right? I'm saying relationships. Even if we just be in a relationship, but you're at each other's throats because maybe you're having to spend more time at home, that you may want to go out and get a quick fix, is what I say. Right? I just didn't even think of it that before.
Oh, I'm telling you, listeners, listen to that episode, Relationship Tested During a Time of Crisis, and I talk about that, there's still a lot of the stress and a lot of things that are building up for people right now. Protect your relationship, protect your marriage. But again, it's about not what you want, just what you want in a relationship, but how does that person want to be cared for and loved? This is an excellent time, a great time to get to really know that person. And for me, I don't always want to know everything, because that's what keeps the adventure going. As you spend a lifetime learning about them and what they like and trying new things and taking trips together and doing silly, fun stuff. We don't do a lot of that. If you can catch some of the TikTok videos and different things that are on where couples are coming up with some fun, crazy things that they're doing together, because they don't want the boredoms to set in, and they know. So they're working to stay together as a family unit. And for me, I also look at it from, I got to say, from that biblical perspective. And that's part of why I always say it can be worked out. Marriage was created for a reason. It's a unity to bring two people together for life, for better, for worse. And I'm going to say that part again, for better or worse. We want the better, but we don't want to go through the worst of times together. Losing the job, as you said, trying to figure out how you're going to pay bills, but that's where some of the real test and fun can come in, the creativity on navigating through it together. That's the key, together. Not one person doing it by themselves. Communication. Like I said, money, communication, sex, the three things that can destroy any relationship.
And you brought up a good point, because now that we know the three keys, and now that you're having to spend more time together, could you start working out those, and the money coming in decreased? Could you start working out some creative ways to let go of some debt or to reduce the expenses? Right?
And if you guys need help, I'm going to put in the plug for Chella.
Not only that,
that's
but you
what
brought
she
up
does.
a good point, right? Because this is a great opportunity to get creative, and then once this is over, you're going to have more money. So now we can eliminate money being one of the ways as far as your relationship goes. But also communication as well, right? Because if you're communicating and you're working together, then you have 2 out of 3. So this is a great way right now to get your relationship on the track of don't fall for the quick fix somewhere else, but work it out and make it fun. Carolyn always says, make it fun, right? What can you come up with some ways that you can have some fun and not spend money, right? Because, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, because I think when we think about couples, just personal experience, not everybody says, but for us, because we had the kids, the 2 full-time jobs, the everything else, for us, the treat was when we were able to go out. That also meant that you were spending money, right? So even if that's the case for you, and if I had to do it all over again, I would think of other creative ways so that spending money was not always the only way we got to go out and have fun.
Yeah, I agree with that one. You do not have to spend money to have fun. And I could do a whole show on ways that y'all can have fun without spending money. I may have to do that.
I think we
but
should.
You certainly
I think
can.
We should. I think totally.
But you can.
Because we need to give our couples, our folks, our singles, everybody out there ideas of what they can do to have fun, keep the energy, and also keep the money in your accounts.
Yes.
Oh my God, that would be a phenomenal show.
One of the other things you think about, and we talked about this on the show with Roman, and you can find that show again. He, relationship coach Roman Mironov, and we talked. It was starting over after ending a relationship, and this is kind of like the part 2 to that. But we talked a lot about self-esteem, and I will add with that self-respect, because you will, and that's a part of that can drive someone to it. And men experience this just as much as women. Well, maybe not as much, but they experience low self-esteem, where if you have someone paying you attention and you're not, that need is not being satisfied at home in terms of the attention and feeling, that person appreciates you, and your self-esteem is lower, and it was maybe not grounded from the beginning, that it's easy to kind of divert to someone who does tell you, hey, you look good. I like the way you look in that suit, and different things they may be saying that will then get that attention to make you, oh, wow, I still have it, but not at home, So you've got to be able to have the strength of your own self-esteem and self-respect, because some of these times you will, you're like, why was I even with that person? they're angry, they're mean, and, I don't really want to be with him. But do you respect yourself enough to set the boundaries that you need to, who you're going to be with, how you're going to live your life? Do you love yourself enough and know your own value and self-worth that you don't treat yourself that way or allow somebody else to treat you that way? Why would you want to be just somebody's piece of, and you can fill in the blank,
Amen. Oh my goodness. That's such a good point, right? Because sometimes we lose track of that. They're giving each other compliment, or they're noticing they just got a haircut, or just the small details. They do not cost money.
When I will tell my friends, I'll say, hey, you got a haircut or something like that, and then the guys are like, you noticed? I'm like, dude, yeah, you got a haircut. We have a caller on the line. Let me see. Hello? Caller ending in 8125. Welcome to the show.
Nice.
Did you have a comment or question?
I'm
you
wondering.
Just wanted to listen?
No, I got to have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So you're talking about, I presume, giving advice to women and they starting over after ending the relationship. What I'm interested in is what kind of advice can you give to women who are in the beginning of a relationship to teach them how to enhance the relationship to make it a long-lasting one?
Chella, you want to go first?
I would say paying attention to details, sir. It's about really getting to know each other, not at the superficial level, but at the heart level. Do they share a faith in common? Can they go to church together? What else can they have? What else do they have in common so that they always have something to fall back on, bigger than themselves?
And I would say
well, okay, go ahead.
I would say go back to an original concept of dating in the first place and understanding what each other likes. There's a book, I think it's called 8 Questions, which I think anybody in a relationship should read, because it goes over every aspect of a relationship, from money to, intimate relationships. Everything is touched in the book and how you navigate through that. We're going to be doing a show on it. I just haven't gotten a chance to do it. But it really gets into a lot of what you're talking about, but not, it's more than just, it's pretty detailed. It gives you ways to have conversations and everything. And it's really, she has to know who she is, but she also has to take time to know who he is. A lot of emphasis in a relationship is putting on, where is the guy taking the woman and, stuff like that. But you don't get time to know what he wants. What does he like? You sit there and you can ask some of the basic questions and they can't answer them. And you do that by, like I said, communicating with each other and really, I thought it was to know what kind of cologne he likes. That's something so simple, but it's something that can, like, all right, that's his, that's what he smells like. That's what he wears. What colors does he like? Does he like to read, or is he just into ESPN and sports magazines? His favorite teams, and be willing to try new things. If you don't go to a sporting event, try to go with one. If he loves it, go with him one time. You might just like it. It's different things that you can do together and walk through, instead of just thinking what kind of job he got and what kind of car he drives. Know the man, but you also got to let him be a man. And I think that's where a lot of the disconnect comes in relationships, and that men don't feel appreciated when they're put in, as Chella was saying earlier, a cage that doesn't let him in some ways be the man that he needs to be. You know, we're defined differently. God created us as two different separate beings, a man and a woman, and we have certain qualities and things that make us unique, and we need to be able to appreciate and celebrate that. So, but what does being a man look like for him? It's not the same for every guy, and you can't, you know, put him up to the standard of the last guy you were with because he's a totally different entity. Know him, appreciate him. Get to truly trust and love him. Did that answer your question?
About 50%, which is about a lot better than most people would. To appreciate a man, yes, because most men really don't feel appreciated. I've talked to men and women for the last 20 years. I'm not a relationship counselor or an advisor. It's just that I've had the opportunity to talk about relationships for a while. And men don't feel appreciated, and they feel after a while the woman that they've met and that they know don't even respect them as much. And your aspect about letting a man be a man, I'm with you about 95%. And the reason why I'm not 100% with you is because when you say let him be a man, that implies that she has the power to either make him the man of the family or not, because if he were the man, if he were the leader, that means she would follow as long as he's doing everything correctly, doing everything in a moral way. But if, let's say there were two atheists who are married, who can still be moral without having to go to church, she still has the power over him by criticizing. So by showing in a general way what you're saying, I'm agreeing with. I wanted more specific answers. Again, what you've said is way better than what a lot of people would say. So if you do show the man appreciation, let him know that you really like him, find out what he likes, and give it to him to show your appreciation with the right man. And I believe 25% of men are not the right men, but 75% are. You can't get rid of that man because that man's not used to it. That man is not used to a woman who is thinking about us as opposed to me, myself, and you two. You know? So
you said an important word. You said respect, that to respect each other. I think that's so important. Respecting
you have
each
to
other.
respect each other. And I've told people I want a woman who loves me not only because of who I am, but because of who she is. In other words, she has the type of personality and mindset and the kind of attitude that the love would come from her, based on morality, a moral imperative. I'm not talking about religion either. I'm talking about a moral imperative. What is right is right. And I care for you because I would care for anybody who is sweet, nice, gentle, good to me. And as opposed to, you are so special because you're a rock star, you've got money, you're important, you're sexy. I love you because you're all those things to me, but I'm going to treat you right because of who I am, more than who you are. But because of who you are, you do inspire me to be who I am even more. Does that make sense?
I'm giving you a hand clap over here. You can't see it, but I am.
One of those invisible hand claps and soundless ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was very well put. That was, because it's right to be able to. That's the self-worth that she has for herself that can shine through, and the love she has for him.
Right. The love she has for him because she does love herself in the right way, not in a narcissistic way, but she loves herself because she knows that she does things the right way. She's a responsible person. She's an honorable person. And hopefully she'll be turned on by a guy who is just like that. There are a lot of women who either are or think of themselves as being, righteous women, but they go for the really bad boys. I'm not talking about the sexy bad boys, the cool guys. They go for the bad boys. They
Real
go for
bad.
the ones that will slap, the ones that will slap the hell out of you, and then they go back for more. If I hear a woman going back 2 or 3 times to get smacked around, I have very little empathy for her, because if she's going to get into her car to drive across town to go visit a boyfriend who's going to smack the shit out of her, I say she's not a victim anymore. She's a partner. Okay? To me, she's a partner, because she could very easily just say, bye. Goodbye. Simple. If she can say goodbye to Adam, she can say goodbye to David. Okay? So I don't have that kind of empathy for a woman who's just going to continually get herself into a mess. But that's where self-worth comes in. You may really be attracted to the bad boy, but you know that he's bad for you. Just like there are so many good-looking women out here, you can't be falling in love with every good-looking chick on the planet. You've got to have discernment. You've got to realize, is this girl in my corner? I have a saying, I don't need a princess to share my mansion. I need a woman to share my park bench. So when I'm down and out, that's when I need you. I don't need you when I've won the heavyweight championship of the world and everybody crawls into the ring, to shake my hand. I need you when I've lost the championship, when nobody wants to be around. That's when I need you. So that's why I asked that question.
Oh, that was awesome, and I think it's such a strong point. Are you willing to share the park bench? If you can share the park bench, then you can share the castle.
Yeah, you've earned that castle.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, we are down to our last 3 minutes. I thank you for calling in. You've made me thinking of respect, and I like that as a great ending point, that, being willing to share that park bench. Because when you said it, I could get an image of this wonderful couple sitting on the park bench together, aging, like from a young age to an older age.
Right.
And that's a beautiful vision to have. And I thank you so much for calling in.
Sure. You've only got 2 minutes. I'll make this very quick. Even more than that, more than just growing old together. I mean somebody who's been up there on the pedestal, who's really made it all, but then has fallen down either because of unemployment or because the business has failed, and the house is just about to be sold, or you can't make the mortgage anymore. I'm talking about the woman who says, "Don't worry, baby, we'll get through this."
And I think we're going to have those times. We're going to have couples who are going to be experiencing that with everything that's going on right now, and you need to be able to say that we will get through this together. So as we close out the show,
I think okay.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry. We just have like 2 minutes because we keep it to the hour, so we don't lose our listeners and it shows too long. But I thank you so much.
Sure.
Go ahead. You got that last story. Go ahead.
I was going to say, already. Unfortunately, I think there will be more breakups than there will be a reigniting of the fire. And that's it.
I agree. I unfortunately agree.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
But we're going to be talking more about it, providing tips and strategies to hopefully keep people united over the next couple of months here on the show, Let's Coach. And Chella, as we close out, I want to make sure people know how to get in touch with you.
Reach out to me on Transcend Abundance on Facebook, Chella Diaz on LinkedIn. Those are the two best ways to get a hold of me right now.
And if you see the write-up for the show, there's a link there where you can actually connect with her on Facebook. And Roman did have a special offer, and it was for 3 listeners of the episode, of 3 listeners of the show. He's giving a 30% discount off a package of 6 relationship coaching sessions, and that's relationship coach Roman Mirnoff. His website is romanmirnoff.com. He did not get to put that out on the last show, so I wanted to make sure. It's a limited offer, so contact him on his website. Mention you heard about him on the show, Let's Coach, and he will offer that 30% discount to you. I want to thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of Let's Coach with Carolyn. And remember to find me at CarolynOwens360.com. And remember, it's all about success on your own terms. Thank you so much, and have an awesome, blessed week, everybody. Bye-bye.